Where do you rank then, social media engagement, video? Like you're obviously pretty strong on LinkedIn, but what coaching do you have around that?
I think that you got to post at least a couple times a week around what you're doing, but the money is in the commenting and in the messaging. I think that's the key to the whole thing. And it feels good to make a post and have people like it, but if you don't get any leads, what's the point of it all? I mean, that's kind of where I'm going at with my team is a direct message is as good as a phone call nowadays, in my opinion. Comments are on other people's platforms, bring awareness to you just like your own posts do. And so engaging on the platforms is more important for most of my LOs than it is posting and putting out amazing content.
John Donnelly, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here. It's awesome. Thank you.
So if we're recording this Monday, March 31st, there is another noteworthy news happening in our industry. That is the acquisition of Rocket acquiring Mr. Cooper and their entire servicing portfolio for a few bucks.
That's right. A few bucks is right. They're going all in. It looks like all kinds of stuff happening there.
So I'm curious, somebody in your chair, strategic sales leader, right? How many sales individuals do you oversee?
My team is about 75 LOs.
About 75 LOs. So when this happens, and then previously there was a few weeks back, Rocket's acquisition of Redfin, do you get a lot of noise from the streets? Does stuff bubble up? And I'm curious, that's what I was thinking about is like, do people then look to you to give them context or meaning around this?
I think yes, in a sense. I mean, I'm a leader at the company, so they're going to kind of key off of my energy. Is it good? Is it bad? What should I think about it? Because people are trying to form their opinion. I don't think we know exactly what to think of it a little bit yet. It's pretty interesting, So how do you position yourself to win if you're going to go up against this behemoth is what I immediately think about.
Yeah. So, and I wonder is because I put myself in those shoes as a loan officer, and I think about, it's all about what do you pay attention to and what you can control.
Yeah.
And it makes me really empathetic and then sometimes curious how much time lost loan officers might spend mentally, cognitively, like spinning through these cycles.
My go-to, and I believe this, is 90% of the things that you worry about don't come to pass. Mm-hmm. And so you can spend time and energy on it and let it grow, but it's a waste of time. What can you control? You can control who you talk to. You can control the number of calls you make. You got to focus on the things you can control. If they come out and have the greatest product and the lowest rates and they're smoking everybody, I mean, you got to pay attention, but we're going to see. We're going to see what happens here. I think that if you do your business right, there's plenty of business for all of us, even the big guys, to succeed.
I want to shadow you through an average day or week. We're entering into a new quarter of this year. What is the strategy, game plan, roadmap you're laying out for your salespeople?
Yeah, I think that's great. The one thing that I'm talking to, we're a referral-based, mortgage company. And so our business is coming from, realtor partners, builder partners, past customers, very traditional. There was a feeling in the last year that those relationships with realtors, they're not very meaningful anymore. If you look at numbers, they're not controlling transactions. They're not very loyal to any particular lender, maybe because they don't have enough business and they don't want to try to steer, not really steer, I guess, but try to direct to their partners. I don't know all the reasons, but what I'm finding, I've been out teaching a lot of classes. I've been boots on the ground with a lot of realtor groups. It's a viable source of business. Referral partners are still a great source of business. There's some of them that are really out hustling, and they actually will give you referrals. You got to win them. It's up to you to win those deals.
So business is still being done by realtors, even when, the news headlines would lead you to believe that it's not.
Yeah. I know you look up and you think that buyer's agents are struggling and there's not business to be had. But I'm telling you, a lot of our business has come from our referral partners. And so don't lose sight of that. Don't go out and chase other lines of business, especially if that's what you know and you're good at. So that's one thing I've noticed, is people are having success.
What are some of the things you guys do to build a fence? Well, I guess there's multiple things, right? A, build a fence around the existing referral partners you have, but then there's also reach new potential referral partners. What are we're going into battle, man. I got my sidearm, my gun, I got my boots. John's at the front. He's leading us. What are we tactically doing?
Yeah, tactically, we're having one-on-one conversations on how to refer each other and how our teams work, so that when I get a referral as a loan officer, I know how to sell you back so that customer stays sticky between the two of us, because we both have potential to lose. The agent can still lose the deal as much as we can nowadays. So we really have to work as a team. You know, if you look at it that way, we're going out trying to expand our network by teaching classes. We've built lead gen classes, mortgage-based classes. I personally do LinkedIn classes because that's my little lane I live in a lot, and trying to show them how we can give them benefit and grow their business. If their business grows, ours grows. It's real obvious.
Okay, so that makes me curious. For anybody who's listened to me for some time, they may know that I'm a very huge advocate of doing agent classes. We have a whole platform that helps people do that. Can you give me any use cases, examples, case studies of leading with classes? I apologize if this sounds self-serving, but look, if it works, let's share it. So any specifics you want to share around how that's helped people in the field?
Oh yeah, for sure. How does having a class, I mean, for me, I go out and offer classes to my loan officers. So I'll say, let's go out and put together a class. My class particular I've been teaching here lately is LinkedIn. So for sales basic 101, you have to make a lot of calls to get these agents into the class. You get those opportunities. And then, you know, obviously if you can teach, like I would encourage all my team to be the instructor. When I teach the class, everybody comes to me. I'm the one that gets the messages. I'm the one that, you know, builds the rapport. But if I can get them to teach the class, they're the expert. And then the money's in the follow-up, right? After that, then that's where you really get the leads.
Well, take me deeper. What does follow-up look like for you? Let's say you had a magic wand and you could get any loan officer to do the John Donnelly approved version of follow-up. What does that look like?
Yeah. So what it looks like for me is, you know, at the end of my class, I've got a landing page with a QR code. You've got the presentation, you've got your takeaway, and, you know, you've got a chance for people, if they enjoy the class, to register. And then when they do that, you know, they're getting emails, text messages as part of a drip. And then it's on you as the loan officer to call and, you know, go deeper in that connection.
So are you making a phone call as a minimum best practice follow-up?
Yeah, minimum. I mean, you got to have a conversation. Come on.
John, you'd be surprised. I don't know. Maybe you wouldn't be because you've dealt with those people your whole life.
Yeah. No, I get it. People maybe try once and they don't ever try again, for sure. Know the numbers. But yeah, if you don't have that conversation, you're not going to get anywhere.
How many? Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm going to go down this. I'm going to continue on this thread for a moment. Is that okay?
Let's go. That's
because I think it's really instructional for listeners, because there's a lot of loan officers who've heard. Look, at classes isn't new per se. People have hit or miss, tried it, half-assed, whatnot. But I really want to illustrate. You'd be surprised how many conversations I've been having about this fundamental activity. So that's why I'm talking about it right now. For anybody who's listening and wondering, what were the initial hurdles? Were there any that you had to personally overcome? You know, how long have you been teaching classes? Let me ask that.
I don't know, maybe 5-6 years.
Okay.
Like that.
And when you first thought of that, was that daunting, or were you like, yeah, shit, no problem, man, let's go?
Actually, it's one of my loan officers brought to me. It's kind of a real quick story.
Mm-hmm.
We had an office back when we went in office. We were in Arlington, Texas. She goes, hey, come here. And I was like, what? She brought me next door in an office we didn't have. She goes, if we blow through this wall, then our office will connect to this training room. And we're trying to figure out how to grow our business here. She goes, I could have a class in that training room, you know, 3 weeks out of the month and grow our business. So we said, okay, let's put a plan around that. And that began teaching and instructing for me, for her. And the idea was for her, this was the vision we casted. She wants every realtor in Arlington and Mansfield to know her name. So by having an invite to all these classes that is going on, you know, she's going to brand herself. So when a contract comes in, she can call the listing agent and say who she is and what she's doing, and they'll know her name and it'll help her soften the beaches. That was kind of the idea. The classes, she taught as many as she could. We got title companies teaching classes, you know, all the things that you do to different types of classes. We had underwriters teach classes. We had Hobby Lobby teach a class on how to make closing gifts. We got pretty creative on the different types of classes. I believe classes work when you teach, especially. Like if you're the instructor, that's where it's at.
And is she still with you?
She's still with me. She's kind of semi-retired, just taking what's coming after and coming at her. So yeah.
All right. But that built her book of business and helped you guys collectively.
She made President's Club in the next couple of years and was the affiliate member for the Arlington Board of Realtors the following year because of how much it worked. So it definitely can work.
Yeah. It works if you work it, like anything, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We had somebody behind her calling and doing the invites, calling and following and setting appointments, working a CRM, sending messages, sharing that information with their partners. So we took it to the right level that it needed to really be successful.
You mean you used it as a system?
Well, yeah, how about that? How about that?
Wow, unbelievable, right? It's amazing. I always go back to one of my favorite books is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, that series.
Yep.
You probably know of it. You're a book guy. Yep. And one of my takeaways from that book is every successful business has a process for lead attraction, lead engagement, and lead conversion. A process, not a wing it, not a once in a while, not a shoot, I got to make those calls and I blow it off because something else came up. No, a repeatable, duplicable system that will scale. Sounds like that's what you guys applied.
Exactly. I think of the Atomic Habit books too. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Absolutely.
So same idea, right? If you don't have a system, you're never going to get there.
Right on. Okay. So by the way, everybody listening right now, huge takeaway. Okay. You just heard the system. So stop procrastinating, get after it. I often ask John, I ask these questions of loan officers, do you need more agents or better quality agents? The answer is both, right? And so therefore, how do you get them? And you just laid out a very duplicable system for people to do that. Okay. I want to transition now into, I'm thinking about loan officers listening always. Okay. They're like, Geoff, thanks. Got it. Agent classes. What else? What else? John, you got this audience, people, let's just face it, kind of overall volume is down, right? Affordable, like all the stuff, all the noise we know. And yet people are still out there doing deals. What do you see aside from getting in front of realtors at scale? What other activities, would you be coaching people on right now?
Showing up to any event you can get in front of, I believe, whether it's an open house, a realtor event, whether it's a chamber, I don't really care what event it is. But when you show up, you got to dress up. You got to be professional. You got to do your sales pitch. You got to practice, and that momentum, it gives you energy, and you just get better. The people that are having success right now, I feel like, are out doing things. Their calendar's full. They're driving around, and they're busy, but they're not all doing the same things. They're doing different things. I got a lead today from my fantasy football league. So, you just don't know where things are going to come from, but you have to engage with people. You can't sit around and wait and hope.
Yes, you have to be active. Where do you rank then, social media engagement, video? Like you're obviously pretty strong on LinkedIn, but what coaching do you have around that?
I think that you got to post at least a couple of times a week around what you're doing, but the money is in the commenting and in the messaging. I think that's the key to the whole thing. And it feels good to make a post and have people like it, but if you don't get any leads, what's the point of it all? I mean, that's kind of where I'm going at with my team is a direct message is as good as a phone call nowadays, in my opinion. Comments are on other people's platforms, bring awareness to you just like your own posts do. And so engaging on the platforms is more important for most of my LOs than it is posting and putting out amazing content.
So you're on LinkedIn. I want to talk a little bit about, when I say you're on LinkedIn, that's where a lot of your focus is. And I think that perhaps could be because of who you are, your position as in, executive, sales leadership, things like that. I'm wondering though, if you as loan officers evaluate their time and presence on social, let's just face it, it takes time. You need to get good at certain skills, right? In terms of, as you said, commenting, being present, let alone content, producing and things like that. Do you see loan officers getting diluted, trying to be too many places at once? Or what advice do you have around choosing a social platform?
I think you should, I think you can get diluted. I think also if there's one that you love, lean in hard to that. And so, I mean, I had one LO build his business off LinkedIn targeting realtors. And you're like, how's that happen? Well, you got to have a strategy around it. Personally, I can reach out to most realtors. I can Google their name and see that their LinkedIn profiles in their top 5 search results. And so I can call them up and say, okay, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. It's always up there in those top few. I can call that realtor and say, you don't have a banner. Your last referral was 2011. If I'm a person who got a couple of realtors' names and I'm thinking about calling you to be my realtor and I use LinkedIn, I'm not sure you're in the business today. Let me show you how I can, in 30 minutes, update your profile to attract somebody to you instead of defer them away. I'm not saying you have to be a LinkedIn guru that you got to post all the time and have all these connections, but at least put your best foot forward, And so that one conversation can really take a relationship to the next level just by giving a little bit of value. just that one thing.
Yeah, I like that. So I call that doing a digital audit. That's an easy win. And it works on other places besides LinkedIn. So I love the fact that you said, John, like wherever you're hanging out the most, wherever you're all in on social, like make that the one. Just because you heard John talk about this one LinkedIn idea and you're like, you got a strong presence on Instagram doesn't mean you should all automatically pivot. Let me go do that. No, you can use that exact same principle, identify agents in your market who are under optimized with their profiles, Instagram, Google, business, whatever, and offer tips, suggestions, etc. But John, how do they know? How do they get educated on what to recommend?
On what to recommend?
Yeah, the loan officer. How do I know if your LinkedIn banner is weak or your Instagram profile's missing things?
Yeah, they have to do it themselves, right?
Are you saying they have to learn the
They
modern?
have to learn it. That's right. Come to me, I'll show you. I'll teach you the class. At least on that. I'm not a guru in all the platforms because I do what I'm telling you. I lean into the ones that are the best for me. But yeah, self-leadership precedes team leadership always. And if you have to always be learning, you have to be reading, you have to develop your skills. And if you fill your cup up, it'll pour over to other people. I mean, that's just how it is.
Well, and we're gonna link up your LinkedIn profile in the show notes for people who can go follow you. But if you look at your headline, like here's an obvious place to start. I know you know this: helping mortgage professionals break through ceilings and build thriving careers. Well, it's pretty obvious what your call to action is, what your offer is, right, to capture somebody's attention.
Yeah, the point of that is I call it the Monday morning question. Whoever your target is that you're going after on your LinkedIn, they have a problem on Monday morning. Well, what are you trying to solve? What is it? How can you solve that problem? Because then you're connecting with the people that you're targeting, right? So if you wanted to, attract realtors, to call you, how can you change your headline up to speak to realtors to help them know that you can be their coach and guru and partner? Obviously, mine's targeted to other people in my industry, loan officers, branch managers. It's pretty clear. Hopefully they, I'm answering the Monday morning question. If they're up there on a Monday morning, they don't know where to take their business and they run across me, maybe that's the sign they needed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whatever platform that is true, by the way, in terms of headlines and examples of your bio. Now you've got 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know that just magically showed up overnight. You didn't have to do much to get that, right?
Oh yeah. I've been working at it since 2018. So on purpose.
How now this is, again, I'm just going to focus on LinkedIn because this is John's profile. So if you're listening, again, put this in the context of your social platform profile of choice. How has building a presence and a brand awareness on LinkedIn specifically for you, how has that, you think, impacted your business and your goals?
Man, it's interesting because for a long time, I didn't know that people were seeing me the way they were. And then I'll go to an event like TMBA, Texas Mortgage Bankers, and 5 people will tell me about posts that I've made and stories about things I've talked about, but nobody commented, nobody liked. That really, early on, that gave me a lot of energy. I was like, okay, something's happening here, but I don't know how to gauge the success of it exactly. And then I'll interview people, especially in operations, and they'll pull up my LinkedIn profile and tell me about it. So it's a tool that, it softens the beaches for me. Doesn't necessarily bring a whole lot of leads in and make your phone ring off the hook or anything like that, but it softens the beaches for me when I reach out to people and they look at my profile and they feel like, okay, I see who this guy is and I can tell what he's about. So that's what it is for me.
I like that term. You've used it 3 times now, soften the beaches.
Yeah. I think we're all trying to, in sales, trying to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. Try to get some influence where people recognize us, so it just makes it easier.
Well, I mean, a warm call is better than a cold call, right?
That's right. All day long.
All right. So where are you ranking the different types of content you post? I'm looking at your feed here. You've got a fair amount of mix of video and text. Tell us how you decide what your content strategy is.
Yeah, I look at my best days for content and the most interaction on LinkedIn is probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So I really gear my my best stuff that's really industry related, tips for other people in the industry. I'll put them into those days most of the time. Mondays, not as strong. Fridays, not as strong. And so my goal is to post Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekends. And, Fridays are dead to me. There's not a lot happening. I do personal posts on Fridays. All that stuff just hangs out there in social. So if I throw up a picture of me and my family doing something or at a game or whatever, that's out there. People can connect with it, but it's not my best stuff. So I like mixing in a video a week. Sometimes I'll do a video every day. It just depends on how I feel. I also like to sometimes I'll just do text only. You get a selfie picture in there. If you don't know what to post, just document something that's going on your day. It's not that hard to come up with some things to talk about on your LinkedIn. But I'm just about to launch a newsletter, just a long form content that I'm working on. I don't know. I just like mixing it up. I post around a couple of things: my core values, who I am as a leader, what it's like to look at my work in my company, because that's the target audience that I'm aiming at. So that's what I want them to learn about me.
Which, by the way, that right there is a key point we could spend 15 minutes talking about, is your target audience. You've got to be specific in your head of like who your ICP, your ideal client profile, whatever, right? On who your content is for. Because if I, to your point, and I go to look at your LinkedIn content, it's clearly for that person you're trying to reach. Versus a loan officer listening, perhaps, who is their content for? Well, maybe it's for a buyer. Maybe it's for a financial advisor. Maybe it's for a realtor. I don't know. And you can kind of cross all three of those, right, with your kind of content. How do you?
I think on that, in your content, in your post or whatever, call out that audience first too. I try to do that specifically. If I'm posting to realtors because I'm teaching a class, I'm going to say, hey, realtors, I'm going to call you out because I want your attention. Or, hey, loan officers, I'm going to call that out first to try to narrow the focus of who's going to read that post. So I think that matters.
Yeah, 100%. Do you actually have a content like schedule or calendar, or how do you actually, get yourself to? You do.
Yeah. Okay. So I started using a tool called Airtable. It's just like a Google Docs, real simple. And I started putting together a history of all of my posts that I was making. And I didn't know where I was going with it. I just started making posts. This was a few years ago. And then over time, I had this huge database that I could search around different topics, realizing that you talk about a lot of the same stuff over time, and you just had to rework it and make it sound fresh and new. And so every time I make a post, I put the date and the image and a link to it. And I have that history. It's pretty cool because it's like you're writing a book, if you want to look back on it. But also, anytime I have an idea, I've probably already posted about it or written something, so I can search it and see what I've done before and then use that going forward. And then back to my same ideas, I'm generally posting, some kind of a tip during the week. I'm my personal stuff on Friday, just kind of have my themes that I'm working off of depending on what's going on. I share some people's content, Also, it's still real critical that you got to comment and post on other people's stuff. I just think that's been one of the things that's really helped me elevate. How do I get a lot of connections? Is because I engage with other people, especially people with a big platform. And then they see me, and then next thing you know, I'm getting more connections because they see me engaging with those other people.
It's such a great idea to jump on there for a second. It's like the largest networking party on the planet and it never closes. Are you using GPT or any other AI in helping you with content?
Yeah, I am. I love it. I think it's great. It's 90% good a lot of times, but you better pay attention to what it's producing. And so I've kind of taught mine to write a format, like a post the way I like it, with a hook and bullet points, talking 7th grade level, because it's got to be quick and easy, all that type of stuff. So it kind of knows me. And then I go and walk all the time. It's kind of my thing. And so I'll sit there and I'll have some ideas and I'll just talk into it and say, here's what I'm thinking. And I'll turn that into a post. Sometimes it's pretty good, sometimes not so good, but you don't just blindly trust that stuff. Look at it and see. But it definitely, what I like is that it learns me and it kind of knows my voice, and it can pull other aspects of other posts into it. And so I'm leaning into it and learning.
When you say you walk and talk, tell me more about that. Are you actually using the GPT phone app and speaking, or what are you doing?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I taught it. I know this is like kind of funny, like I'm telling myself, but I taught it our entire HR review system. And we had to do reviews recently for our managers. And so I literally went on about a 2-hour walk and I just told it, based on the format I put in, here's all the things I think about this person. For me, that's way easier because I can verbalize a lot better than I can write. And then I said, just professionally put it into the format I need. Bam. It was just done. Saved me so much time.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was watching a video of somebody who runs a social media marketing agency, and she was talking about how she uses GPT on behalf of her customers. And she said that she gets better results by actually talking to ChatGPT because it is easier for it to understand context because it can hear how you talk and the different nuances. And then, you know, how you talk is different than you write. And so writing is kind of a little bit more finite and tighter versus the audio is actually, you've got that kind of wider lane to go down.
Yeah. So last night I went on a walk and I just mentioned I'm working on a newsletter. I've never done a newsletter in LinkedIn. I feel like I talk about it, but I should do it myself, you know, if I'm going to teach classes. And so I had a plan of what I kind of wanted it to be like. So I told it, act as my social media coach. Here's what I'm thinking. I want to write a newsletter, but I want you to ask me a minimum of 10 questions in an interview and help me develop my name, how it's going to look, the format. I want to write a one sheet for my assistant to help me understand how to do this. And I had a conversation for 45 minutes with ChatGPT, and it kept asking me questions and helped me come up with a name and to help me build what I think was better than I would have come up with in a 45-minute window. Like, it's really fast. So it's how you talk to it.
I know. Do you use in the audio where it talks back?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. For sure.
Because that's like, you can turn that on or off. Some people just like it reads your voice and types it out, but I'm talking about the actual dialogue, like it's your version of her. Right?
Exactly. I haven't named it. I know some people have, but I haven't named it her or him, but it's like a friend, you know, it's coming that way. And I think people are going to find that they actually enjoy the conversations at some point more than they think about.
Side note, I named mine Carmen.
Okay.
And my wife is not a fan of the female voice, Carmen, that I have conversations with.
I don't have a name, but it's coming. I know it's not far. I know in Google Maps, there's a voice that I have, and I call him homie because I was like, hey, homie, thanks. You know, I always joke about that, but you know, I'm sure it's coming.
That's awesome. Yeah. By the way, guys, again, listeners, that's another takeaway. If you haven't used the audio version, download ChatGPT to your mobile phone, the actual real ChatGPT app, not some of those third-party lookalikes that are out there, because you can use the free version and it'll take it to the next level. Your usage and output with ChatGPT, it'll be easier. Okay. We got like 2 minutes left. We're in a sales meeting, John. We just wrapped up Q1. You got some people who, you know, are on track. You got some people who aren't. Let's just say people are wondering, how do I build Q2 pipeline? Let's take that. I don't want to get too far ahead of our skis here. Q2 pipeline, not to be redundant, but it's okay if you can go back. You want to go back to the fundamentals of what we said. Doesn't matter. But what are you coaching our table right here, sitting around the round table? Okay, guys, go hit the streets. This is what you do.
Yeah, this is what you do. First thing is you got to know who you're targeting. I mean, sounds really basic, but for us, if we're going to target realtor partners, I want to qualify a list and make sure they're actually doing business before I go put a lot of effort into them, because there's a lot of them that aren't. You know, we hear all those stats. If you're going to lean into builders, we do a lot of builder business too. We have a lot of relationships that you can kind of work and utilize. Get strategic on which ones you're going to go after and why you're going to go after the certain builders you're targeting. But then go back to what we just said. What is the plan to make the calls and then follow up with the people? Because the money's made in those calls and that follow up, not even in the event itself. I don't know that many people, you know, it's just a place for you to showcase yourself and attract people to you. But until you call somebody afterwards, you're not going to get a lead. You're not going to grow your business. So that's the basics.
There you go, man. Reconnaissance, get in the field, right? Make stuff, turn rocks over, make contact, let people know you exist. That's awesome. Okay. So for people who want to connect with John, I'm going to assume linking you up on the LinkedIn is the place to go.
That's the place to be. Yes, sir.
So you just got to go to LinkedIn and search the John Donnelly is your actual profile handle. I guess, is that what you call it? Profile. Yeah. John, this has been a wonderful education on how to get back to the basics, and execute on what's actually working.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I love your show.
Yeah. And by the way, if anybody is interested in learning more about your organization, right, I suggest you to check out what John's doing there as well, because you guys have quite the culture at Service First. It's all about culture and leadership. So if you are considering a change, I would encourage you to check out John and Service First, because they clearly have a culture of leadership and leading from the front. So just wanted to say that was unsolicited, John. You bet. Listeners, you know what to do. Follow John, link in the show notes. Let him know you heard this podcast episode. Let him know on a comment, DM him in LinkedIn at a minimum, or comment on his content. Let him know what your one big takeaway was from today. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.